Welcome to this episode of Part of the Arts with me, Rebecca Godden. Today we're joined by actor Kieran Jones Gill, whose career has taken off in just 3.5 years, with touring nationally and internationally, filming a feature film and landing TV roles every year. With screen combat training and 2 black belts, he's no stranger to action both on and off the stage and screen. Beyond acting, Kieran teaches LAMDA, directs youth shows with Rabble Theatre and writes his own productions. But in August 2024, his journey took an unexpected turn. He was involved in a serious motorcycle accident. So now he's navigating recovery while balancing the challenges of being a self-employed artist. Join us as we dive into his journey, his fast-moving career, his passion for the arts, and his resilience in the face of this adversity. Hi, Kieran.
Hi.
Made you laugh already. Welcome to Part of the Arts, Kieran. So great to have you here.
Thank you for having me. About time.
All right. Someone's been in recovery. Well, both of us.
Both of us have been injured. We wanted to do the podcast for so long, and then we both got hurt.
Yeah, we both got hurt at different times.
Yeah.
But we're recovering together.
Yeah.
That's cute. Different stages, and we'll definitely come on to that.
Yeah.
And we'll talk more about that as we go through the episode. But first of all, come on, I've worked with you within intimate spaces when it's just been me and you can say things sometimes that might be a little bit risque or maybe not unfiltered. So what's the last thing you said that you thought that should probably either have stayed in my head or I'm not quite sure about that?
I mean, in my defence, the most recent one's been when I've been in hospital off my nut on drugs. So
there was a reason.
Yes, there was a reason. So I've got an excuse. But probably the second day I was in hospital, I think, called one of my friends to be like, guess what's happened to me?
Oh my gosh.
And me being very high on all the painkillers, being like, guess what happened? He's like, what? Like, guess. What? Guess. And at
this point, your friend had like no context.
No, so I was meant to work with him the day after my accident.
Okay.
So all he knew was that Kieran's sick because the manager she didn't want to tell anything.
Yeah, so, which is fair. Like protecting your privacy, your right to
so
say
he was
when
like,
you're ready.
I hope you're doing all right, man. I'm like, oh yeah, do you know what's happened?
Oh my god.
It took a while. I was like, yeah, I got hit by a van.
What was his response? Do you remember?
I don't fucking know. I barely remember myself, but shock as well in the way of
horror.
Like, yeah, I was like, what? What?
Come again?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Which has been my default response to anyone who has asked me what's happened. I've been like, I've been hit by a van.
I mean, you can't.
Which is the truth.
It is, and also you can't really dispute that. And and also, I can't even. Like, where do you go from there?
Yeah. With
the conversation, what do people actually respond?
Yeah, they're like, oh my god, what happened? I'm like, I broke both my legs. Like both of them. Yeah, one wasn't enough. I had it with. I've started going to the gym recently.
Yeah.
And like an avid gym goer, I forgot my water bottle. So I went to the cafe and bought some water. And the worker was like, oh my god, what happened to you? And I told her, and I was like, yeah, one leg wasn't enough. She's like, in like classic like middle-aged woman laugh.
Oh, I love that.
Uncomfortableness.
But she's gonna laugh, yeah.
Yeah, she's gonna laugh.
But isn't that just also what we do as actors a lot of the time? If something goes wrong, you laugh through your trauma. Otherwise, what are you gonna do, really?
Yeah, it really weirds therapists out.
Yeah, you're like trying to make the therapist laugh.
Yeah, trying to make the therapist laugh. Like, this isn't about me. I'm like, oh.
Have you managed yet?
No.
You'll get there.
Yeah,
you'll get there
one day.
At least you've got like it's not an exciting story, but it's a dramatic story.
Yeah.
You know, like you were context, you were riding your motorbike.
Yeah, I was riding my motorbike and a van pulled out in front of me and for a minute I learned how to fly. And
then you realised that your legs were behind you.
Yeah.
The wrong way.
Or above me.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then
round you. Oh my gosh. But thank goodness Kieran was wearing all the gear.
Yeah.
He had an idea.
I was wearing all the gear. Which literally saved my legs.
Literally saved your life as well. Like the helmet.
Surprising, helmet. I had no head injury, no spinal injury.
Yeah, which is just, honestly, what a miracle.
Yeah,
like,
which means I can say I'm stronger than a van.
You're stronger than a van. And what I was saying at least you've got like an interesting story.
Yeah.
So I broke my elbow not long ago. So that's
why. How did you do that?
Exactly. It's so boring. It's so boring. And everyone, isn't it the first thing people say? Oh, how did you do that? And I'm like, I literally just fell over.
You've got to workshop a better story than that.
Like, it's really sad. And I literally said to people, I'm like, I just fell over and I was really unlucky. That's it. There's no more. There's no less to it. That is what happened. And it's just really boring. And I just had an unfortunate, unlucky, and unique, all the uns from the doctor injury. But we did. Okay, you say we need to make up a story.
Yeah.
So I was at a job that we both work. Yeah. That's where we met. Don't have to say the name. Don't need to give that publicity. But and I was back for my first shift.
Yeah.
And I was talking to one of our colleagues, front of house colleagues, and she was like, "Oh, come on, Becca, let's make you a better story because I can tell you're getting annoyed just being like, oh, I just fell over.
Yeah.
Oh, it's just boring." So I was like, yeah, okay. Then we were in the green room, the staff room, and one of our other colleagues walked in. He didn't know that I'd injured myself. I was in my sling that I was wearing in between scenes. And he was like, "Oh my God, Becca, what happened?" Our colleague then just jumps in with this, she won't mind saying it, Nina jumps in and just starts, kind of me and her start like riffing and just improvising around what happened. And she's like, "Oh yeah, Becca doesn't really want to talk about it because it was on a job and it's all like, I was like, yeah, I signed an NDA. I was like, put it this way. It was a bit more of a longer winded story, but I was like, put it this way. I won't be doing my own stunts again."
Yeah, there was a shark and...
that was quite... So then, but this actor, bless him, I did feel... Well, he'll find out if he listens to this. I actually didn't tell him the truth. But I realised I didn't tell him the truth after the fact, but only it'd been too long.
Too deep now.
Too deep. Yeah. But we were just kind of flippantly doing it, but we were very solemn about it and it was just done. And then we just got into costume. And I think he was genuinely like, oh God, yeah, okay. Oh, I hope you're all right. I'm glad to see you back, kind of thing. And he was such a sweetheart about it that I actually think he just bought it. And then only now really have I realised that I didn't really tell him that I was messing with him.
You didn't actually say the truth?
No. I actually said a lie. I lied. That's the thing I've done that should have stayed in my head.
What, lied?
Yeah. No, just to this one
Just to one person.
Yeah.
Well, it's just one person, it's all right.
Yeah. And it was, it was fun. I got to rewrite my story for a minute.
Yeah.
And it was a bit more interesting.
I was saying you fell.
Like an old person. What is it? Oh, yeah, that's my sister-in-law said. Yeah. At what point, Becca, does it become you've fallen over or you've had a fall? And I was like, hang on a minute. I'm not that old. I'm not that old. And talking of not that old, you're not that old, Kieran. You've not been in the industry that long, 3.5 years.
Yeah, 3.5 years.
Kind of fresh.
Starting 2021.
Fresh into the industry.
Yeah.
Tell us about your journey. Like, how did it start? How did you want to become an actor? And where's it led you?
Well, when I wanted to become an actor, I think was like year 9, year 10.
Okay, so a bit late, later in your teens.
Before that, I wanted to be a spy.
Okay.
Yeah, all the classic kid shit that I didn't grow out of. And I was like, yeah, I can't be a spy because I'm not fit enough, so I'll be an actor instead.
And you can act as a spy.
Yeah, I can pretend to be a spy instead.
But spies have to act. So do you know what? I feel like it's linked.
Yeah, it all links. Yeah, probably about then because I realised that I enjoy it the most.
Nice. Rather
than the things that I was better at, like maths and science and shit. Yeah. I was like, no, that's too boring. So I guess then, but yeah, then I went to uni, got a degree in acting, which I graduated in 2021. Yeah. Yeah. So
COVID times.
Yeah, half of my degree was fucked by COVID.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, I've been acting since 2021. Very luckily not had to have a boring normal person job. Everything I've had has been related to acting since then, which has been very lucky.
And just an achievement, right? I mean, I know we always say, I think as actors especially, we're always like, oh, I'm so lucky. And absolutely, yeah, there's some element of luck, but also there's some graft and there's some talent in there.
There is, yeah.
So you've got to also,
I always find the weird way of how to market yourself when applying for jobs and applying for agencies. Like when you asked me to write the bio for this, I was like, how do I market myself and makes it sound good, but not so poncy that you sound like a twat?
And don't worry, I will get AI to help me.
You'll edit it down so that I sound better. Yeah, thanks.
Yes.
But like, it's true, 'cause it's really hard, especially when you're in a room of other actors. And I never like to be like, I've done this and this and this. Whereas some people are really happy to be like, I've done everything, gone.
Which I admire actually sometimes. I'm like, oh, that confidence to.
Yeah.
I was actually talking to my husband about this not in his industry, he's in marketing, and he came across someone that was like that and was like, oh yeah, like it's been brilliant. I've been doing this, I've been doing this, I've been doing this. And he's kind of like, I've never had that.
Yeah. It's really hard to do, but it's really good to do that. But what's funny is when actors try and one-up someone.
Yeah.
Someone starts, they're like, I've done this.
Then drops.
Yeah, and blah, 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 blah. And it's about trying to find the right way to market yourself. Because in all of my things, if I'm saying I've got experience, I always name drop, like, I've been trained by Olivier Award winners, which is true. Olivier Award winners, Little Bulb. I had training from them in university. But the asterisk is for a term. For a term is the asterisk, but the asterisk,
don't give all your secrets
the
away.
asterisk can go away. But it's like, how do you make that sound big and clever?
Yeah,
and like make it sound better.
Which everyone does writing a CV, not just actors, not just people in the arts.
Yeah, which is a really fine line to draw between how you market yourself to sound amazing, like vital to a production,
but not
so
like
much.
You'll be difficult.
Yeah, not like you'll be difficult. Yeah.
A nightmare to work with.
Yeah, a nightmare to work with. Absolutely horrible. Which I am, but I don't want to give the impression that I am.
We know you are. No, you're not. You're lovely.
Once the contract's signed, then I just turn into an arsehole.
You can just unleash the beast and just be like,
yeah,
this is my rider. And then they're like, hang on, sorry, you're not a musician. And you're like, nope, this is my rider.
Yeah.
And talking of like riders and stuff, you've like had a fair few TV appearances.
Yes.
You've been in or on the screen?
Yeah.
In the screen. You've been in the screen.
In the screen, the little box behind the telly is where I've been.
You've been in there. Every year of your career.
Yeah. So 2021, literally a week or two out of uni, I got a message being like, we're casting for this reconstruction thing. Do you want to be in it?
And you were like, yeah.
I was like, yeah. All right.
I do, actually.
Ironically enough, the character I was playing had broken legs.
So, like, this really could have come
So
out.
this has been like a full circle that now that I've got 2 broken legs, I can now look back at my performance and say, well, that fight wasn't quite true. And I actually filmed in Winchester.
What, hospital?
No, not the
I'm
hospital.
pointing because it's just up there.
The hospital up in the sky. That's called heaven.
Up the road. Up the road, guys. We're currently in Winchester filming.
It was the other way. It was that way.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, one of the schools, because it was a posh old school at the top of the hills.
Nice.
And they had a room that they could film like nice and tightly and to hide the fact that it was not a hospital.
Yeah. Well, that's the beauty of TV and film. You can make it something look like it isn't and get away with it more than theatre.
Yeah, so I did that, and since then I was in another 3 of the production company's shoots, and another one which was filmed in the Theatre Royale in Winchester as well. Theatre Royale. Shut up.
I wasn't going to call you out on it, but you called yourself out.
I call myself out on it.
Theatre Royale.
The Theatre Royale, yes.
Darling.
But, do you know what it is?
Olivia trained at the Theatre Royale.
Yesterday, we were family watching a cooking show, and people going like, pasta.
Pasta, darling.
And it got into my head so much. Every time we would talk about it, I couldn't help but keep calling it pasta.
That's why you're saying Royale.
Yeah, like now it's in my head to say things like differently.
You can only say
and I gotta work it out.
Eggs Royale.
Yeah.
There you
Eggs
go.
Royale, not Eggs Royal.
No. Eggs Royale. But it's the Theatre Royal.
Yeah, it's a Theatre Royal.
Different,
Yeah, so
the English language is a wonderful thing.
Yeah, every year I've managed to be on TV, which is like
so cool.
Amazing. Yeah, as recently as last month, I was a police officer in another drama reconstruction about a murderer. And
we love a bit. Was it a bit of true crime?
Yeah, true crime.
Oh, I love a bit of true crime.
And I filmed it before my accident, a month before, I think. And I cannot remember half of the things I filmed for it. I was watching it and like, I don't remember that. When did I do that? And I was like, I remember walking around in the forest, but I don't remember this bit.
It's just kind of like trauma
it just washed over me, and I was like, what? And so we were all watching it, and my sister was taking the piss, like, do you remember that bit?
And you were like, no, I actually don't.
I don't remember it.
This is the problem for me, guys. Yeah. I don't remember it.
But also, like, trauma does amazing and weird things, right? And pain takes energy. No, it does not wake you up. Pain takes energy.
Yeah.
Right?
That's been the worst thing with the accident is it's been such low energy. Like, I'll do one thing and then need like an hour to lie down in bed just for like, I'm done. Which is the hardest thing, to try and get not just the physical stamina, but the mental stamina to like be able to focus for a day on like doing shit. Yeah. As opposed to just sort of sitting down and just watching TV.
Even just like life admin.
Yeah. Which has been really difficult. So I've just ended up watching TV. I mean, in hospital, I ended up watching a bunch of Kitchen Nightmares because that's all that was on.
I was gonna say, what's the thing recently that you've consumed art-wise that's left you with a bit of a smark? Was it that?
It was Kitchen Nightmares
in hospital.
Yeah, in hospital. So I got out of hospital and I started cooking and I set fire to the house. And
I got injured again.
That was the spark that lit the fire. No,
so it wasn't that show.
No,
that's sad.
I think the one I don't remember most recently, but it was about a year ago. A friend of mine who's going to Reading Uni, who graduated Reading Uni, I should say. He was doing a project for a guy doing masters there, which was an immersive show set about like some Greek gods, I want to say.
Oh, that sounds cool.
It was interesting, and it left me with a bit of a spark. I was watching it and really trying to dissect it, and ideas kept flying from it because it was derived very heavily from Grotowski's main principle of if you can say it without words, as in, if you can do it physically, you don't need words.
Yeah.
And the idea of the show was immersive, but predicated very heavily on if you can do it physically, don't speak.
Okay.
Which was really interesting, but it didn't work as well as it could have done.
Oh.
Because...
like you could see...
Yeah, so because it was immersive, the director wanted very naturalist movements, which meant that it was all very minimal and drawn back and hidden. And so watching an immersive show where the focus isn't on the words, it was really hard to dissect what was happening.
Yeah, of course.
And when there were words, because there were played out scenes and a written script, it kind of fell by the wayside.
Yeah.
And then in between the scenes, because the idea was you could walk through and see everything going on at once. Cool. When the scenes weren't going on, the characters were still interacting, but they were whispering. And so they'd be meant to be in a really tense position and looking at each other, and then they'd be whispering like this, and they'd like have their hands on a table. And
like actual hushed whispering as well.
Yeah, like hushed
whisper. Not like that kind of stage whisper.
No, not hushed, genuine hushed whisper, acting in a hyper-naturalist way, in the sense that it was like, you are supernatural, peeled back, the slightest movement says all. It didn't work as well as it could have done, and it made me really want to go and make immersive theatre. So I've done quite a bit of immersive theatre, and watching that, I was like, oh, that could work. And my friend came out afterwards, like, how was that? I was like, yeah, it was all right.
Do you know what though? I think that's so great to speak about something that gave you a spark in a different way.
Yeah.
I was actually talking to someone about this yesterday, saying it's really great when you go and watch something or you go and attend a workshop with someone else, because if you're a workshop leader yourself, you output a lot. And then to also find ways of, you know, of how you wouldn't do something.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Being like, oh my gosh, I can see the potential. This is great. However, I wouldn't make that choice, but I'm glad I've seen how it was done.
It gave me ideas of how I would do it differently, because it had a real potential as a show.
Yeah.
And I would do things differently, which I always like seeing as well with different directors and creators doing, I want to do it this way, this way, this way.
And you write stuff yourself, don't you?
Yes, I try to.
I mean, doesn't everyone that writes theatre say, well,
I'm currently writing a show that's been on wait for like 3 years, and I've got 2 pages.
Honestly, I've got one of those. So let's not joke.
I try and write my own stuff and come up with ideas. There's one that I haven't worked on for years. It was my end of year uni show that is about the science behind mental health and the way that the brain physically changes when you have things like depression and anxiety. Because most people describe it as like it's a mental illness, so it's all in the head, given the implication that the head doesn't change. I mean, that's not true, particularly if you have depression or anxiety or another mental illness from repeated trauma. Your body creates basically adrenaline, but glucocorticoids, to keep your brain permanently active in that kind of fight or flight response to deal with the trauma that you're receiving, which means that your mental illness is impacting the body, continually producing this thing, which then keeps the brain being continually active even after you recover from said illness. But also the secretion of so much adrenaline means that part of your brain shrinks. The part of your brain associated with memory, the hippocampus, loses its plasticity, so it struggles to absorb as much information. And yes, there's so much more inside of the brain that affects mental health in a physical change that kind of defeats the idea that, oh, it's all in your head. It's a thing, but your brain and your body actually
have been there.
Yeah, it physically
and still
changes
can revisit that.
And still can revisit that. So if you have clinical depression, obviously chronic depression, it's different, but clinical depression, even after you recover from it, your amygdala, which perceives threats, is still more active than someone who has not been diagnosed with clinical depression.
Oh, wow.
Because it's been in that response for so long that it is now more aware.
So, having known all of that information about how your brain is connecting to your body and how you're basically processing trauma, with what you're going through at the moment with your recovery, that must be a lot. Like, how is that?
Yeah, I mean, for me, it helps me because knowing the science behind your brain makes it feel more normal. Like there's not something wrong with you. Like it's a reaction. Like if you twist your ankle, you're not like, oh God,
that's it.
And that
life's over.
Yeah. And so kind of reframing it to be like that really helped, because it helped me kind of analyze and understand that the reactions of my body is normal and appropriate to the situation, especially with the PTSD that I had from the accident.
Yeah, of course.
Not being able to get in a car without being really anxious and seeing every car driving past and like constantly on edge, knowing that that was normal and it was me perceiving the threat because of this huge trauma, heightening everything, making something that's not a threat seem a threat, and knowing that that was how the brain worked and actually normally would respond in this kind of situation. It made it better because I wasn't like, well, you know, I'm just a fucking idiot. What's fucking wrong with me? And it was, I was like, no, this is what happens.
Yeah.
This is a normal kind of reaction to it.
And I've been through it.
Yeah.
Basically.
Exactly. What was funny was in hospital though, I had delirium, which basically means I was seeing and hearing shit.
Oh gosh, that must have been so scary.
Oh my God, it was so weird. Again, it's normal because your brain is trying to process everything that like happened. But it meant that
do you have it when I came to see you?
No, when people saw me, I was
gonna
fine.
say, because
like having that kind of grounded reality brought it.
Oh, okay, having someone that you know
back for me. It was normally late at night, and dreaming, or things I thought were dreams. Like the 2 weeks before the accident, I was directing plays, working with children. So in the hospital, I thought I was dreaming that I was directing plays from the hospital that I had just directed. So it was created basically my brain replaying the last 2 weeks, but I was in hospital. I knew I was like in the bed.
That's weird.
And it was so mad because I thought I dreamed. I wasn't. I was just hallucinating. I was delirious seeing it, but I could also see the hospital. But I was like, okay, this is it felt like kind of a lucid dream. I was like, okay, this is a dream. I'm in hospital. I'm in hospital. I'm in. I'm in.
So it's like reminding yourself.
Yeah, and trying
being like, you're here.
Cool down.
You're here.
What did make me realize I was like, okay, no, I am going crazy. Was the scene of the hospital as like the school tiles, like
the pop off.
Yeah, the pop off one. I saw at one point an image of like a baby's face like streaming burnt into the ceiling.
My God,
and I looked up and I was like, shit, I'm going crazy. That's mad.
Terrifying.
I saw that, I was like, yeah, no, I'm seeing that. That's no way.
So what did you do about that? Did you tell the hospital staff? I know you had like a clinical therapist that started to come and
they
work with you.
Yeah, the therapist came in hospital and she was like, yeah, it sounds like you were delirium. You were seeing things. I was like, yeah, no, that makes sense. Like, is it going away? Like, yeah, Yeah, it's going away. It was just a thing that as your brain and body is trying to process all of your trauma, it is like thinking and going in overdrive.
100 miles an hour.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Kind of like when you're on a caffeine high and everything's like and you can't get to sleep.
You can't shut it off.
Yeah. It's like that, but turned up more to the point that it's not just you thinking about it, it's you kind of seeing it and feeling like it's real. It's kind of the best way to kind of explain it, but it went away as I started becoming more conscious and aware. It's like the first week, I can't even remember if you visited me on the first week.
Yeah, literally.
Yeah,
like, the first, like 2 days in or something.
Yeah, the first week I was like in and out consciousness.
Yeah, you were.
I had like a lovely little pain button.
Yeah.
Every 5 minutes.
That's the first thing you told me about. That's the first thing you told me about. You were like, I've got this button.
It was a lifesaver because it meant, because of the seriousness of my injury, I was in the most serious trauma day.
You were.
In bed one as well.
You were bed one, yeah. You were easy to find.
Yeah.
You weren't when you got moved. I think I had to call you.
Oh,
yeah. I can't find you.
Yeah, so I had what was I saying?
So you had your pain button, you were in and out of
the pain button was
consciousness within those first few days.
The nurses didn't have to keep coming by giving me drugs.
Yeah. You could manage it yourself.
Because I was in so much pain. Like if someone touched my leg, gosh, pain shooting up the entire side. The registered nurse, the day after I went in hospital on a Monday evening, so Tuesday morning, getting me ready for surgery, and they couldn't roll me to clean me because there was too much pain. And registered nurse came in. We're just going to check to see how everything's going. She's looking around. So I'm just going to touch you here and touch my knee. And oh my God, that was like, I can't describe how painful it was.
You kind of don't have to describe it to me because I have felt it.
Yeah. And literally was not expecting it at all. And the nurse touched me. I was like, fuck. And she's like, oh, yeah, okay, that hurts.
It's such a shock, isn't it?
Yeah.
And it's such a shock as well for the people around you. Not the nurses and the doctors, they're used to it. But so I was discharged like straight away.
Yeah.
And they just like sent me home. But
you can go.
Yeah, I wasn't I did not have strong enough medication.
No.
Like I was just not okay. Like our friend who lives across the hall is a consultant doctor. And Nick kind of messaged her like, he's like, Becca's got a high pain threshold and she's just like, she cannot even shift herself without like crying out in chronic pain.
Yeah.
She's like, she can't, he was like, she can't even cough or sneeze or like breathe without it. And I'd never felt pain like that before.
Awful. And the pain management is such a huge part of it.
Yeah.
Being able to like function and then slowly come off them because I had the pain button for like 2.5 weeks. And then they took that off me.
Again, I absolutely cannot like relate my injury to yours. Mine was one elbow. Yes, it was a very bad fracture and break. And, you know, I've had to have surgeries on it. But like yours is, you know, yours was multiple breaks.
Yeah, we haven't actually said what my injuries are.
Well, only if you want to. Let's go for it. We've been keeping people like
keeping it in suspense.
Yeah.
Can you guess what happened to me?
Can you guess what bones in the body Kieran broke?
Was it A, both femurs, B, my pelvis, C, my hand, or D, all of the above?
D. It was all of the above.
All of the above. Yeah,
D for doom.
Broke my right hand. Got what the nurses call a boxer's fracture.
It's looking good.
It's looking good, but I can still see that I've got like a little smushed knuckle. Not as bad as my dad's that he got from punching people, but you know.
Well, there we go.
Yeah, mine got from punching a van instead.
Yeah. Trying to be superhero.
Yes. Broke my pelvis and both my femurs. So I've got titanium rods and what on the x-rays looks like a bike chain across my pelvis, kind of holding it in place.
It looks like I've got a bike chain in my elbow. Because when you saw my x-ray, you were like, oh, we've both got bike chains.
Yeah. That's what
we all them.
Yeah, have it in my pelvis. Keep it all nice and together so I can like stand and walk. It was so nice to see you walk out of that train station today, because last time I saw you because of my injury was you were still in bed using your wheelchair. Yeah, still heavily using a wheelchair, which I'm trying very hardly to not use anymore, which I haven't used for quite a while.
But also don't be ashamed to use it when you need it. It's that thing about rest.
It's knowing when to.
And fatigue, and like what you were saying with your brain trying to keep up with your body. Yeah. And when you've done something for an hour, you then need an hour to recover.
Exactly.
It's the same thing with a wheelchair, right? If you need to use that so you've got sustained energy to complete something,
that was the hardest part about being in the wheelchair is my house has steps to get to and from the car park.
Yeah.
So me and my dad had to try and figure out a way of like tipping the wheelchair.
God.
Which we got down was fine, but it's a really awkward like feeling of like I have to completely trust the person tipping me back, because my instinct was to like sit forward and be like, nope, but that then unbalances my dad. So then he has to lean back more. And so it's like I've got to like basically lean back and be like, it's like you're going up in a roller coaster. It's really unsteady.
God. And that is, you know what, that's so great that you've had your family.
Yeah.
To look after you, and the fact that again you're kind of fresh in your career, that means that you're young and you're able to kind of stay at home
and the fact that I'm young helps with the recovery of the injuries. All the doctors said, well, you're young, you're fit, incredibly handsome. And so it's been all
so it bends me up from here.
It always my favourite.
I think
you kind of recover a lot better than if I was older.
Yeah.
But my family's been amazing, especially with physio every night and stretches every night. They've been able to kind of help me, which has been a lot of fucking around and laughing, especially with my mum, who's partly deaf, not registering what me and my dad are talking about and taking the piss. She's like, what?
And well done for doing the physio. Like I am, again, I've had knee dislocations and now a broken elbow.
Yeah.
And I'm still in recovery. And when you start to get busy again, it's hard to remember to do them. Not even like from lack of want, because I am one of those, I like to think I'm like an A-star student for physios. Yeah. I'm that person that physios love because I actually do the shit. Yeah. Whereas a lot of people don't.
A lot of people don't.
But I can see how it slips, because I really didn't have time today, but I forced myself to go to the gym.
Yeah.
I was like, even if I just do my arm and my knee physio, I need to do it, because otherwise I'm not going to recover.
That's it, yeah.
But I can see how when you start going back to life, have you found that? Have you started going back to life a little bit more? Or has it been more difficult to keep up with that?
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, I've been very fortunate living with parents. I don't have rent to pay, so I can afford to focus on the recovery rather than working and earning loads of money. But I've started to turn little bits to work, trying to venture in person. I mean, coming here to do this.
I loved it. I was like, we can do it over Zoom, it's fine. And you went, no, I'm coming here.
Come in and have an excuse to get out of the house.
Yes.
But, yeah, it's difficult. It's busy. I'm not a fan of working out at home anyway.
No, I'm not. I like to be in a gym. That's exactly it.
I could have done the setting and
I could have done my exercises here. But I was like, no, I want to go in.
It feels better to go to the gym than walking to the gym. For me, walking to the gym, 1-2 crutches going.
That's a workout in itself, though.
That's a workout in itself, and it's a kilometre there and a kilometre back.
Wow.
So I'm doing 2 kilometres on top of the gym.
That's brilliant. Like, you should be proud of like the progress you've made.
It's been insane, because now I'm also using a walking stick more, trying to go around. And
your walking stick's so cool.
I know, it folds up.
It like packs out.
Yeah, it packs out, so I can stick it in a bag, and then...
It's like a magic trick.
Yeah, it's really nice.
It's like one of those collapsible magic wands.
Yeah, the only issue I've had with it, right, is because for like 7 months, I've been using the crutch handles, which are thicker and like rich for the hands and grippy. To have a smaller grip and more of a curved handle, it's a really weird, different grip to get used to.
Especially with your hand recovering as well.
Yeah, especially your hand recovering, like having it there. But yeah, I've just got to be able to walk properly now.
Get used to it.
Yeah.
And, you just touched on it slightly there, the fact that, you're grateful that you're living at home, so you've not got rent to pay. Most of your work is self-employed. Yep. So kind of, how's that been? Just from I think it's just, we don't talk about it enough, actually, I don't think, in the industry, being injured in the industry. Like, I don't actually think it's, yours is fucking severe injuries, but even, semi-severe like mine, where I didn't have to take that much time out, but I still had to take time out. It still affected me. And I didn't want to shout about it. I didn't want to put it all over my social media. I didn't want to let it like define me. But also at the same time, this is the first time I've spoken about it properly on the podcast. At the same time, I do think it's important to talk about it, because what do we do when we physically cannot work.
It's really difficult, because in terms of jobs, like for instance, if I was to go into London, I would need to take the wheelchair. And anyone who's going into London with a wheelchair is really difficult. It is a huge challenge, in getting passenger assistance at the train stations to go off is a challenge in and of itself.
And just knowing what tube stations are wheelchair accessible, or having enough money to get an Uber.
Exactly, yeah. And going around all that is really hard to find that balance and have those accommodations put in place, especially when you're self-employed, because self-employed, you don't have the same employee rights. So
definitely.
The things you can get is different, and when you're applying for jobs, it's a lot harder. Which what my mood kind of is right now is I'm going to slowly start returning into my teaching acting work and have a bit of like stability and calm, and like have that base of this is where I'm at, and then start to slowly incorporate more like acting work, which I think works kind of better.
That's a great idea.
Yeah, because I've got projects lined up. I'm directing 2 plays over the summer. 2 plays in a week. Or is it 1 play 1 week? 1 play
I love them.
Week.
They're so intense.
Yeah, doing Rabble Theatre's drama school, which I've done for like the last 2 years.
Yeah, because you're a facilitator, LAMDA tutor and director for kind of youth theatre as well. Yeah.
I'm primarily work with Rabble in Reading. And
Rabble in Reading, all nice, like a tongue twister. Rabble Reading.
Yeah. And so I'm doing lead drama director of the musical theatre shows that they're doing over the summer, which is very nice. So I get to work with some amazing people.
That's nice.
And create 2 shows, which will be a very big challenge, because it will be roughly a year from the accident that those take place, which is kind of going to be my big test.
Yeah.
Which is exciting. But yeah, it's really hard to know how to kind of balance it, especially really if you need to earn money. Yeah.
And I've found that, and it's really hard to make yourself aware of reasonable adjustments as well as employers aware.
Yeah.
I'm not, I don't know if you know me at all, Kieran, I'm not very good at doing things by halves. Well, hence the injury. I'm not very good at, I'm like all or nothing.
Yeah.
I'm 100 bars an hour or I'm 0.
Yeah.
I have found it super challenging, I'm not going to lie, to kind of return to work gradually, even though I had a fit note from the doctor saying you can return to light duties that are amended. You know, they were amended to a certain extent, but then I just overrid that, no matter the pain or the exhaustion. And I have got better, but then at the same time, because I'm a contractor basically for the jobs I do, and project by project, I'm working for lots of different people. The people that employ me also don't really have it on their radar. So the conversation just isn't really happening.
It's a really hard conversation to have to be like, I need these adjustments made for me.
And I kind of need someone to help me monitor them, because I'm just going to keep going if someone's not. And I found that really difficult. There's no solution that I have at the moment, and it's no one's fault.
Yeah.
But it just hasn't quite worked. I've kind of just, and that people, I don't know if you've had this as well. People, because I don't have a sling or a cast anymore, people just think I'm better. And people are like, oh, you're back. You're back. You're completely better. And I'm like, no, I still don't have full function of my arm.
Yeah, I had a friend that I was for a party, which I managed to get to. And I had my crutches, managed to go up and down the stairs. And it was like, oh, you go up and downstairs. As if like I'm better. I'm like, no, I can go up and downstairs a little bit. But like it's slow, and managing people's expectations is really hard.
So we think if it's hard for us to manage our own expectations, like what you said, it's even harder to manage other people's. And again, it's no like shade to anyone. It's just, it's just really difficult.
It is funny they're walking around with a walking stick.
It's a visual aid.
Yeah, all of the older people. I was at the bus stop. Coming past this lady, she's like, oh, I should have bought mine today, you know, I'm feeling very unstable. I was like,
oh, yeah. You're literally just having all the chats with the oldies, like you're walking.
Literally nodding, smiling, like, what happened to you? And I was saying the same thing, like, got hit by a van. She's like, oh.
Talking of that, do you get exhausted with that question? of what happened?
No, because I like seeing people's reactions. Because I just keep progressively getting more and more blunt with it.
So you just like messing with people a little bit?
Yeah, I got hit by a van. And like in the
deadpan.
Deadpan, I got hit by a van. My legs are broken. And then they never know how to react, and it's great.
That's so funny.
Yeah.
Because I've got a little bit. Yeah, I've just got a little bit. It's the same question as an actor when they're like, "What have you been in? What would I have seen you in?" It's the same thing. Your injury straight away. It's, what did you do? I would love someone to just ask me how I am. I think that's one. I don't know if you've ever felt like that. Like I feel like no one ever
asks where I am. Nobody asks how I am.
And we're trauma bonding on this episode.
Yeah.
But do you know what I mean? It's always that default. And I know we're curious, we're humans, we're nosy. I am. Everyone is.
Yeah.
But it's just that first thing, when you found out that someone's injured, it's not that kind of, how are you? How are you doing? It's just what? Not how. What happened? And I just find it a little bit like insensitive and a little bit inhuman.
Although it's kind of all those things like,
but it is that curiosity.
When you were younger and like bang yourself on something, so I'm like, are you all right? And you're like,
no, actually,
I'm fine.
Actually, to be fair, if people asked me, I probably would
just start crying.
Especially in the beginning. No, I'm not. But as in, like, just being like, oh my goodness, like, I hope, even not how are you? I hope you're okay. I'm sorry that happened to you.
Yeah.
And then just move on. I have had a couple of people do it, and I'm so grateful.
Yeah.
Like, you know who you are if you've done that. It's just actually quite nice, because also with the what have you done, I don't know, again, if for you, I have to relive it. It's like reliving the trauma.
Yeah. Well, that was a part of therapy to treat with PTSD, is to actively go through and relive it. So you can talk about it, and then it doesn't dominate your life anymore. And
it doesn't dominate it, but it's still depressing to talk about.
Yeah, that's also why I keep it short. Like, I get hit by a man.
Yeah, so if you keep...
It's a pretty good conversation stop. Like, what happened? Bang.
Short and sweet.
That bang, done.
And literally bang.
Yeah.
And if you were to, short... And I have 100% got better at being able to as well, to handle it and to respond to it. But, I think it is that reliving of it. And, it's like that. Again, I'm not going to go into it. This is not my episode. This is your episode. I'm not ready.
This is my time.
This is your time. And I'm not ready to go through all the trauma of mine. No one wants to know. Although maybe if I did, Kieran, then no one would. I could just send everyone this episode.
You just suddenly,
and just be like, don't ask me. Listen.
Listen and support Part of the Arts.
Yeah, buy us a coffee.
Now available.
because we were unemployed for a while because of this trauma, because of these injuries. Help us.
One coffee helps feed a starving Becca.
Well, no, a tired Becca. Helps to fuel and fascinate. And it means I can give my guests coffee
It's
too.
like one of the charity ads that you see on TV. Just £2 given to Becca can give her a double caramel macchiato.
Oh, that sounds good. Oh my, we should just turn the camera. We've got the cat next to us. Got my cat Khaleesi. She's joining us on the podcast today.
Yeah.
We could do a little cat shelter. To help this. To be fair, she's the most pampered girl you've ever met, so it wouldn't work.
And for £5, you'll get a cappuccino.
Oh, she'd love that.
Well, you get like the.
She likes oat milk. Because okay, completely off topic. We're now talking about cats, but did you know cats are actually lactose intolerant?
Yeah.
Did you?
I remember something about it.
Have I just out-facted you?
You might. I remember something about cats not having something.
So
because I made a joke about it to my sister's lactose intolerant.
Oh God, she's like cats. Yeah. All the adverts where like cats are licking cream out of saucers and milk out of saucers. No, they can't have it.
And to be clear, no cats were harmed in the making of the adverts.
No, they weren't. I'm more about like cartoons, but also like movies and stuff. It's like a saucer of milk, and it actually has to be non-lactose or dairy milk.
I did.
You didn't.
I thought I remember something.
No, let me have this one, Kieran. Thank you, because usually I tell you something and you already know it.
Yeah, I'll give you facts like the M&Ms were made during World War II.
Yeah, that's random. Why were they?
Come on,
let's hit us with a fact.
Okay.
Why were M&Ms made?
Crack the neck and
during World War II. Is it to do with the arts?
It is nothing to do with the arts.
but story time with Kieran.
It's to do with innovation and creation, which is part of the art.
It is part of the art.
Roll the credits, the name has been dropped.
And also, you storytelling that this you're performing right now.
So basically, during World War II, America wanted to send chocolate to the fronts in Europe.
Yeah.
But because of the hold being close to the jet engines, the chocolate would melt. So you just get a sludge. So the US got the Mars and something company. I can't remember. Marlboro, not the cigarette company, but
Marlboro.
Yes, but not the cigarette company.
Mars and Marlboro came together and made a nicotine.
Mars and another company to come together to create the sugar shell that encapsulated the chocolate so that when it was in the hold, the chocolate itself wouldn't melt and could be transported to the Western Front.
And we still eat them today.
Still eat them today.
And now I want some.
Yeah.
Genius.
Anyway, that's my pickup line. And
so if anyone is interested in the facts of Kieran, then you can find him on his socials.
He can't walk, but he can tell you about M&Ms.
He can't walk, but he certainly can talk. And that's why he is imperfect for this podcast. And talking of being perfect as an actor, Kieran, you're very versatile.
Yeah.
And you've done quite a lot of physical training as an actor. So you've done stunt training, screen combat, you've got 2 black belts, and you've worked with that in production.
I see you reading off
I'm reading off it because I'm like, I can't remember all of that.
So I've done screen and stage combat training. I've got 2 black belts, which was just me as a kid being bored.
But it's helped.
It's helped.
That's cool.
And I've choreographed some short fight stuff, particularly when I'm directing youth theatre and stuff, getting those little bits in there because that always helps the kids. Do you want to learn how to pretend to punch someone's stage? And they're like, what? Yeah. And teaching that kind of stuff. But that's been really fun, which I was going to do more of this year.
Yes, and I was going to come on to that. I think you were last year pre-injury when we were talking. You were going to do more training and workshops.
Do more training, and I really want to create a short film centered around a piece of screen combat, which would be awesome because screen and stage combat, although they have similarities, they are still quite different, particularly in the way things are shot. And knowing it is always funny when I see little bits of screen combat where it's obvious the punch didn't connect because of the camera angle.
Yeah. Well, because it's all smoke and mirrors.
Yeah.
Again, stage and screen, so different, especially with kind of combat stuff and fight scenes.
Yeah, exactly. And it's a really easy way to hide it. Like, if there was a fight scene, this is the distance we would be, or the camera is clear, but that is how far it would be. And if the camera was over my shoulder here, and I went like that,
and I reacted.
It would look a lot
like
better. It would look a lot better than if it was over this shoulder here, where you can see very clearly that it goes,
it swings around, and
it just doesn't connect.
That's so interesting. And so what does, obviously you're still in recovery, so you don't fully know what the future holds. No. You're like me, I still don't fully know what range I'm going to get to with my arm. I'm just, I like it's going to be months, not weeks, years, not weeks, So it's like we don't know, but what's your hope for like the future when you're, fully back on your feet?
That is a great question, and I've definitely thought about it. Well, my recovery was projected to take about a year to get the strength of an average person back.
Yeah.
And then longer to get back up to where I was.
Because you were like physically fit and able and active with work.
It's all a big what if. Like, it could be sooner, it could be longer. Like,
which I get. They always give you the worst case as well.
Yeah. So it could be better, it could be longer. Who knows? But afterwards, I don't really know. I guess it's back on the grind, getting everything new show reels, maybe new headshots. Although to be fair,
treat yourself.
To be fair, though, my headshots still look the fucking same.
That's always a thing, isn't it? Us just being vague, being like, I want to do
in 3 years. I still look the same, which is lovely. But again, it kind of feels like a bit of a reset to try and go back through to everything, and a good excuse to do more showreel stuff. But the showreel companies, I just don't gel with, because sometimes it's so clear that the shorts have been made for a show reel.
Yeah, and it's not that natural.
It doesn't feel natural. It doesn't feel like a lived-in world, which is something that would really...
Well, that's why you collaborate with people like me, like Jordan, like Sarah, like Yvonne, and like we create stuff, right?
Yeah, exactly, which has been really nice because me, John, Sarah, and Yvonne did some year ago.
Yeah,
a year ago.
Believe how long
a year ago.
Felt.
Yeah, why not?
Exactly. And then we've got some like I'm on there now, and we're gonna get some coming up in April.
Yeah, which is gonna be lovely.
And you know, creating our own stuff with friends.
Yeah,
and I feel like that's what I want to do a little bit like more of, like creating. Not just for the sake of creating, but what I want to do as well, and with who I want to do it with, and making it the passion again, not just the hustle, not just the grind.
That's really what it is reigniting the passion and creativity, because I love creating shit.
Yeah,
and
me too.
Mucking about and making stuff, which is...
And it's the why, isn't it?
Yeah.
You want to do it. The why, the want.
Yeah, so being able to kind of get stuck back in and try and create something that is probably funny or serious is... really nice. It kind of gives that purpose back into acting, especially as a nice little gel back into, like, you know, being creative and, like you said, using my brain.
You can do your teaching, your tutoring with LAMDA and all of that. That's you know, online. That went online. That was one thing that went hybrid that helped.
Yeah, that's
so great. And you can do your directing for Rabble, and then that can be the income. But then the kind of the creation. I feel like if you can just do what you want to do, that's going to help, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah. And having that time to try and just create something, and the people to collaborate and make something with.
Yeah, I was going to say, how's that been, not being around as many people as you're used to?
It's been really weird because you get so used to being social and talking to people and just mucking about.
And meeting new people all the time in our industry.
All the time. That now it's kind of weird to keep going over the same things, like all the people being like, how are you, what's this, and it feels like, what have you been up to? I'm like, well, fuck all. That's the honest answer. And then
recovery.
It's like,
I'm recovering.
Yeah, and that kind of puts stop on the conversation. So try and get back into being extrovert and improvising and all of those kind of things is really what I am missing out on at the minute.
Yeah,
like, getting involved. It was funny because I did do an in-person teaching a month ago.
Oh my gosh, amazing.
Maybe a few weeks ago. I was very happy to see me. I went in the wheelchair because I don't want to push anything too bad.
There you go. Yes, you're using it. We're like, that's how you should. Energy levels.
One of the mates that works there was like, Kieran, can I hug you?
Oh, that's so nice.
I was like, yeah, of course you can. And he hugged me and went, ow.
Honestly, Kieran, you've literally been through hell and back.
Yeah.
And you've just got like such a vivacious outlook on it. We love it.
I did it to my grandma because after the accident, my parents were supposed to go up to my grandma and granddad's and spend a week there. Of course, they had time, so they didn't. So my grandparents came down. So I was like to my grandma, could you move my legs? This was before I could really move my legs much. So like, could you move my leg in a little bit? And as soon as she grabbed it, I went, ow. She said, and I could see she wanted to slap me so much.
Yeah, because you literally delivered it with a deadpan.
Yeah.
Ow.
Yeah. And it made a job.
You did it to me in hospital. Like, you hadn't even been in for that long.
I did it to the nurse.
Oh my God. It was literally like a couple of weeks into your recovery.
Yeah.
Still all bandaged up and stuff, but your legs are akimbo, weren't they? And that kind of like...
Yeah, because they were kind of like propped up with pillows and flopping to the side because they hadn't... Yeah.
And the pillows would move, right? Yeah. So you were like, oh, could you just lift my leg up and just reposition the pillow? I was absolutely. And I did it and he went, ow. And I was like, oh my God. And like, honestly though, I nearly dropped your leg. And you're so lucky I didn't. So I knew my knee-jerk reaction, pardon the pun,
is to let go.
Was literally just to let go and be like, oh my God, sorry, I can't do this.
I mean, I did it to the
But
nurse.
I didn't. I just went, oh. And then you were like, really joking. I was like, I literally, Kira, I nearly dropped your leg. I can't.
Yeah. When the nurse was taking out, I think my last cannula, so are you ready? The last one's coming out. And she took out and I went like, and with the other nurse there, she jumped. She's like, the other one started laughing.
Oh my God. But, you know, great that you've kept the sense of humour, like, throughout. I always like to kind of wrap up the podcast with in the industry, we've done weird and wonderful stuff. I know you've only been in it 3.5 years, but you've still probably seen and done some stuff. What's the weirdest job you've ever done? And it can be outside of the industry as well.
No,
just
the weirdest job is easy. It comes
okay, great. You've got it.
Well, I've got weird jobs, and then a funny story about another one. So it was an immersive theatre festival that went all over the UK, but I was in the one in Southampton, and it was called Tour de Moon, and it was set up by this person who decides what goes on set for the search for extraterrestrial intelligence. She is part of the group that decides what we send into space.
Wow.
Yeah, and she had this idea for an immersive festival, got loads of funding for it, to like have it in pop-up places all over, and have like street festival, and imagining what life would be like if aliens like came to Earth, or alien life is like.
It sounds like weird already, but in the best way.
It was so psychedelic, and she was a huge fan of Arto. Massive Arto, heavily into theatre of cruelty.
Yeah, okay.
Thankfully, I knew
what
that meant. Yeah. I knew what that meant, so I went really nuts with it. And there were 6 different scenes in the area we're in, but it was psychedelic, like picture an acid trip of everything moving around, all bright colours.
It was like
it was
that.
insane. It was hilarious. And she, in a very thick French accent, I was a cult leader, and we had a guy in a horse with guts and stuff. But I think I sent you a picture of it.
Oh yeah, you did. Yeah.
With
it will be attached for this, everyone. You can see it.
And there was a guy in that horse. And she says in a very thick French accent, "Look at me. This is your one chance to be a horse. Be the horse. You are the horse." It was so funny.
And the guys in the horse like.
And the guys in the horse like. No, it was really, really wacky, and because it was theatre of cruelty, sudden loud changes and being just really crazy and over the top, and like getting in people's face, like getting as close as I physically could. It was hilarious.
Oh my goodness!
And because I knew what theatre of cruelty was and really how to really push it, did my one. She was like, "Love it, great," but there was 6 other people.
If you've not trained
if you've not done theatre of cruelty, you don't.
Even if you've studied it a bit, like if you've not practiced it.
Yeah. It is mental, because you have to throw away the rules of
any
action. And so you made everyone, those people do it over and over and over and over and over again.
That's painful.
Yeah, I mean that is a theatre of course technique of doing it over and over to the point of madness.
And then that's when you get the desired outcome. That's the point, right?
But that was hilarious, and I remember one couple. It was obviously the guy's idea to come. and
the partner was like, no.
Partner was not into it. Very Christian, very religious.
Oh God.
And I'm a cult leader saying, "Worship this God." And she hates it. She had to step a bit away, but the husband, he was loving it. And so I get really into his face, and I could see at the corner of my eye, she's like, "No." I'm like, feel like she's getting like ready to like push me away from him, to be like, "No. This is like blasphemy, devil worship."
Like, I'm done.
Yeah. And it was so frustrating. I had to move all through, so I could see. I was like, "Oh shit!" And it was really kind of. That was the weirdest one. I mean, if you see the picture, I love the horse.
I was a little bit like, I need to ask what this is. So I'm glad you brought it up.
It sums it up. It's great. And that is easily the weirdest job. But
and you hit the nail on the head though with immersive though. Yeah. Like you got to read your audiences, haven't you? And some people you cannot keep going with.
Yeah.
Like especially with a theme like that.
Yeah. But a funny story when it was the weirdest thing is that I did a tour in Turkey.
Yes, you did.
Yes,
you're international.
I'm an international touring star.
Yeah, you are.
Going all around Turkey. It was primarily like an English language show aimed at like teaching English or seeing children seeing us perform in English. And for part of it, we would go down. We did Matilda. And it was a 4-person play, so an abridged version.
Nice.
And the guy playing Mrs. Trunchbull. So we would go down, like she would chase us through the audience, and these kids, who most of them never seen an English kid or an English person, start running up and they want to go say hello. And at one point we had to keep judging, like, is this a safe crowd to run through? because some of them would swarm him.
Really? So oh my god!
Because they're like, "We're gonna stop you."
No, they get really into it. They're like, "No, you're bad. You're evil. Everyone else is good, so we're gonna stop you doing this."
And it was so funny. At one point, there was a very small kind of place to run around, and the kids started swarming her, and swarming Mrs. Trunchbull, and he couldn't get the guy playing it couldn't get out, get past, trying to wade through the kids. Bear in mind, he's also got a badge.
So you could literally just be like, this is good.
And we're running, and I look back, and I'm like, oh shit!
And he's just.
And I'm like, no! I'm like, what do we? What do we even do?
Yeah, because he's like engulfed in these.
Yeah,
kids.
and then the teachers have to go çocuklar, which is Turkish for kids, and get them to sit down and give space so that Joe can get back into the stage and we can continue with the show. It was hilarious.
That's when like schools tours, you need the teachers to be on board, and if they're not, and we've all been there, it's
crazy.
So tough. So thank God they finally got involved. Maybe a little bit too late.
Yeah, that was
but they did.
So funny. Seeing that for the first time, I was like, oh, it was great.
Oh my God. Well, Kieran, you've lived within your 3.5. I love it. 3.5. 3.5 years in the industry. Like you've toured internationally, you've been on screen, you've done a lot of immersive stuff, and you've broken your body.
And I've broken my body, yeah.
So, like, honestly, you've lived a life. How old are you?
25.
25. You're only 25.
Not a day over 18.
No, to be fair, you look. That's why I had to check. I was like, I'm pretty sure you're 25, but you just look really young.
Yeah, do a fresh haircut, and I've shaved a little.
Why you don't need
so
to
I look a lot young. Exactly. I still look the same.
What's your playing age?
Oh, fuck knows. if I have a shave, and my hair's quite short at the minute, so I can probably pass the 17.
I think you probably could.
If I put on like a shirt and kind of shove my body and get some big glasses, I can probably pass for 16.
Yeah.
So, but I'm like 16, but I feel like I can't play as 25. You know, like, is my playing age my age?
I think
if I was to say
early 20s.
If I was to say, can I have a playing age 2 years older? And I can't play 27. I don't look 27.
No, I would absolutely say you're like, older teenager to early 20s.
I think I've kept it as like a 16 to 24.
Yeah, I think that's good. Yeah, that's good.
I think I've kept it as that, but I'm like,
you've lived within the industry and out of the industry. You've been through shit.
Yep, I've lived, I've laughed, yet to loved.
I'm trying to pick you up here. But you're doing it yourself.
You keep setting them up, I keep smacking them down.
You do. I'm trying to wrap up the podcast. We'll have to get you back because we could carry on chatting. We could see what you've done next in the next 3.5 years.
Yeah, nice.
Because you're only 25, you've still got so much ahead of you. Yeah. And I'm excited to collaborate with you on some show reels.
Me too.
And some stuff, and just see what you do next, like post recovery, because it's just so lush to have you here on my sofa, on the podcast, from that kind of seeing you in the hospital bed 2 days after was,
You said what's next? What's next is all the reality shows. I've got a sob story now.
Yes! Oh my gosh, we're going to see you on like The Traitors.
I did apply for The Traitors.
I was going to say, I can see you. I feel like everyone I know is
I thought it'd be laugh. Yeah. I did apply for everything, so I've got the sob story now. So.
Yes! We're going to see Kieran on a reality show. Yeah. And then he's going to get a talk show. He's going to get his own podcast. It'll probably be better than this.
Coming to a TV box near you.
That'll be excellent. You're in the TV.
Yeah.
We'll see him in the TV.
Yeah. Sometime
soon. Yeah. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you for being a vital part of the arts. I'll never stop. Take care and we'll chat soon.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you so much for listening to Part of the Arts. If you enjoyed this episode or any of the others, please subscribe, share, and leave us a review. Also, we would love it if you could support this passion project by buying us a coffee. All the info is below. Thank you and see you next time.